welcome back.
Tonight we want to bring you a conversation for change. We want to bridge the racial divide in Metro Detroit.
So joining us tonight are Detroit Free Press columnist Rochelle Riley, Michigan Korean Weekly publisher Tak-Young Kim, Community Next director Jordan Wolf.
On the other side, we have the director of the Michigan Taxpayers Alliance and former state representative Leon Drolet, community leader Osvaldo Azi Rivera, Access CFO Maha Frege. We want to thank you all for joining us once again as we tackle race in Metro Detroit.
Speaking of race, racist jokes, ethnic slurs are heard less frequently today than perhaps they were in the past.
That's the good news, but Diana Lewis reports that's not the whole story.
The bad news is, while those offensive words may not be spoken, they're still being used in tweets and text. And a recent study shows many young people think it's no big deal. An Associated Press MTV poll shows teens and 20-somethings feel freer to use hurtful language in texts or online than they would face-to-face. 54% of young people in the survey say it's okay to use discriminatory words within their own circle of friends. Only 44% said they would be extremely or very offended if they saw someone use the N-word online. 1/3 say discriminatory words about blacks are often intended to be hurtful. The other 2/3 think they are mostly used as jokes. So we ask, can those words ever be considered funny?
Jordan, let's start with you. What do you think about that? Because a lot of people do use some words online that they really shouldn't, but they feel anonymous. I mean, can they be funny?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people are hiding behind the computer, so they're more apt to just put whatever's on their mind, whether they're joking or serious. But I think for me, it's kind of like a good segue for my generation and listening to all the panelists around here. I come from a completely different angle on this issue, and my reality, I think, is very different. Talking about Rochelle's idea of her American dream, in a weird way, people might think I sound altruistic. I feel like I'm living that. I mean, I live in Detroit. I live in a house, a communal house, where we have different people from different races in the neighborhood, their kids over on a consistent basis right in downtown Detroit. And I'm surrounding myself around people from different cultures around my age that want the same thing that we want. So I come from the angle of, okay, first, how do we keep our young people here? I mean, that's what I do day in and day out. And secondly, about keeping your young people here, what no one is really talking about when you're talking about economic development and talent retention is natural diversity. The one thing Chicago, San Francisco, New York has, you walk down the street, you smell the aroma of the ethnic food and the culture, and we don't have that here. So until you have that component, and it's something that I'm really focused on with my peers, I mean, that's a big piece of creating a city.
And a good thing for you, I mean, you grew up in West Bloomfield, but you did get a chance to live in the Netherlands, and then you lived in San Francisco. So you sort of lived it and you breathed it, and then you brought it back here, and you want other young people to experience the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. And to be honest, you know, we have a great core group that we've kind of started this conversation, and people are going to say what they're going to say, and they're going to have the same, you know, the specific attitudes, and they can say what they say. We're just kind of put the naysayers aside and focus on the influencers that want to make a change.
Rochelle, I go down the Twitter stream here, and I know you've seen the same thing, and the N-word is just, I mean, it's like regular verbiage on Twitter, and nobody seems shocked about this.
I never see the N-word on Twitter, do you?
Yeah.
A lot, huh?
Well, it depends on where you go and
It depends on whose stream you're watching.
But it's not new. I think what we're doing is sort of this circle, you know, NWA, Ice Cube, who's now a family man, it started then, and not just rap, but it was a part of the culture, and then it went underground as those folks got older, but then here it comes back again. And there's still this group of people who say if you use it as a term of endearment, or if it's not serious, and it's not, and that's not true. They're deluding themselves.
Well, they're the young people that we've been talking about here. I mean, do they see it differently?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say, right? Because it goes back to, I can't answer that question, because the first thing when we sat down, we said this is an individual thing, this is an individual basis. Until you generalize, and we're not going to get anywhere.
And you can't generalize with the N-word either, because some people will always say they believe it's fine, and some people will always say it should never be used, and it's very, very offensive. I mean, just two polar opposites.
But if the one black American use the word to you, you still get offended by that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's,
I don't think anybody should use it to anybody. But again, I'm getting to a generation where I'm not Jordan's generation, and they have other stuff that they say. Sometimes that's worse, but it's okay for them as long as it's not treated as a defining thing for your whole race.
All right, we're going to go up to Joanne in the control room right now, and we'll be right back with our panel. Joanne?
All right. Yeah, you know, we've got 700 people on Detroit2020.com right now having a great conversation, and the comments are just flying by. But people weighing in on what the panelists are saying and really having a conversation with each other, which is neat to see. Someone will post something and the next person will respond and whatnot. So we invite you, as you're listening to our panelists tonight, again, to head to Detroit2020.com and get involved with this. And while there, you can answer our poll questions that we've been posing throughout the night. A little bit earlier, we asked, which group do you think experiences the most racism? And we have the results so far from people voting. As you can see at the bottom of your screen there, we have Asian received 2% of the vote there, Black 55%, 21% said that white people experienced the most racism, 19% weigh in for Arabs, and 3% for Hispanics. So clearly, according to those poll numbers, don't know exactly how many people have taken part in the poll, but again, we've got 700 people at least at this point involved in the conversation. 55% are saying that blacks experience the most racism. We want to pose another question to you tonight to take part in, just trying to get a feel of how you're all feeling out there. And the question we want to know this time is, do you socialize outside of work with people of other races? Again, do you socialize outside of work with people of other races? Really, I think getting to the point of, you know, we talk about diversity and respecting each other's differences, but and how our culture in this area is like a melting pot. But do we all kind of come together, and do we do things together? So head to the website, weigh in on that, and we'll bring you those results in just a little.
All right, Joanne, thank you much.
We'll get back to that subject and also talk to our panelists about that. First of all, though, we want to bring this up. Morgan Freeman brought this up the other night. He says racism has gotten worse since President Obama took office. Let's listen in.
The Tea Partiers who are controlling the Republican Party, their stated policy, publicly stated, is to do whatever it takes to see to it that Obama only serves one term. What is that? What underlines that? Screw the country. We're going to do whatever we do to get this black man. We're going to do whatever we can to get this black man out of here.
But is that necessarily a racist thing?
It is a racist thing.
Is in office.
I'm going to start to Leon because you come from a political background here. Is it politics or is it race we're talking
Look,
about?
every political party has a stated goal of driving the incumbent of the other party out of the presidency. That's the goal of every political party. That's you know, what they do. So the fact that this is a stated goal to drive this president out of office, it would be the stated goal of the Republicans to drive every Democrat out of office, and the opposite with the Democrats and Republicans. I honestly don't know the answer as to whether or not Obama's presidency has generated more racism. I can tell you it's created a new angle to look to talk about the issue, but I don't know if we can measure whether or not things are better or worse.
A lot of people think the conversation, especially with President Obama as an African-American president, has gotten really hateful. You know, he's gotten more...
Republicans thought that about Bush. They thought Democrats were the most hateful, virulent, spiteful, vicious people.
I have vivid recollections, the early days of the Tea Party rallies against Obama, with him pretty close to armed men, white men, in these rallies. And then I asked myself, if black men had taken rifles in an anti-Bush rally, I don't think they would have been allowed to live.
It wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have happened.
Secret Service would never have allowed it.
No. And to me, that is really, that brought it home to me.
And have people been disrespectful to the office of the presidency because President Obama, as a black man, is holding office?
Well, people have been disrespectful to the office since Jimmy Carter. They were disrespectful to Bill Clinton, and we all were disrespectful to George Bush. But here's the difference. There are things that have happened with this president that did not happen before. I don't care what people say about what happened with previous presidents. You don't have a national magazine editor, a formerly respected magazine editor, call the president a penis. That's never happened to any other president. You don't have a member of Congress stand and call somebody a liar in session, you know, out on the street, someplace else on TV. But those types of things raise the level of disrespect, which makes it easier to talk about Obama.
Now, Jordan, could this just be just it's just a new era of disrespect, I think, across the board? Is this a racial issue, or is it just society getting disrespectful?
I think it's just new. I think anytime someone has something new, then people just try and find an angle, right? Find an angle to, if they're not getting their way or they're not getting the policy that they want, they're just going to play that angle.
So this is a new angle for people to play.
Yeah, and he's black. Right? He's the first black president we've had, so it's a pretty good angle pretty easy angle to play.
So an easy place to attack, perhaps. Okay, we're not done yet.
Coming up next, what you can do. This is the important part. What you can do now to help Metro Detroiters' racial barriers break down. You can do the same in your own community.